Hello! Welcome once again to Winter is Coming Live, the official Game of Thrones after show of winteriscoming.net, brought to you by Entertainment Weekly. My name is Adam Rady, and once again, we are here at the stream.tv talking Game of Thrones. To my left is Allison Haysip in a pretty little blue dress.
Oh, thanks, Black Milk.
To my right sits Xavier Brinkman in a pretty blue shirt.
Love it.
We all got the blue shirt memo today.
It's a blue episode.
So guys, remember, if you are watching, we want to hear your thoughts on Game of Thrones. Use the hashtag WIC to get us in your thoughts, your questions, your comments, your concerns, everything involving Season 5, Episode 3, High Sparrow. We are going to begin today with your favy.
My favy?
Arya Stark. Arya
fave.
Stark has some new clothes.
She sure does.
Arya has new clothes.
She finally looks like a girl again.
Exactly.
We kind of forgot all this time that she was actually a girl that dressed like a boy.
It's kind of amazing how long she's had those clothes for.
Yeah.
Like when you actually think about it, she has had those clothes for four
seasons? Yeah.
Question mark?
And they're filthy, and everyone's wearing filthy clothes. You don't even really think about it, do you?
Well, she's got filthy clothes, and then she's like, you know what? But I do want to keep them, and she she throws them down in the ocean. I guess that's what that is, the narrow sea.
Well, she's definitely not keeping them though. She got rid of them.
But she knows where they are.
I don't think things stay in the ocean.
She
very
put a rock
easily.
in it.
No, because she put a rock in it to make it sink.
Well,
I
don't know.
She'd be just diving back to get her
The bigger point is that she hid her sword. She hid Needle.
She hid
couldn't do
Needle.
it.
That's
Because she
true.
was like, I can't get rid of that one. So she actually hid that one, which is very interesting because I feel like that might come back to bite her later on.
That was an important moment to me, though, because that was the first time in a long time that we have seen Arya show true emotion.
Yeah,
because she's
vulnerability.
been vulnerability.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I mean, what did you think of that, Xavier?
Yeah, I was very surprised. I thought she was going to do it. I thought she was going to throw it off and then like 100% commit to Jack and Cara.
But,
right?
you know, like we've said about Arya in the past, like, she's not all there. She's not okay up here. And I think that's her moment of going, like, I can't fully let go of my past. I can't
It's
fully
like
let go of Arya
her brother
Stark.
gave it to her. Like, I mean, you know, she's, such a harsh thing, like reality that's happened with her family. It's her last connection with it, right?
But her journey has been since the beginning is forgetting to be Arya Stark, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because every time she goes to be Arya, she kind of gets further and further away from it. And now she's confronted with the actual reality of having to be no one and not be Arya Stark.
I actually think it's much more symbolic that she doesn't get rid of the sword because I think it means she doesn't get rid of her revenge list.
Yeah,
like
sure.
she is still out for all that revenge.
I feel like she's gonna like walk back into her room and it'll be sitting on her bed or something like that.
Oh, that's right.
You know, it'll come back to get her, and he would have found out somehow. Like he retrieved her coin when she threw it into the ocean. I mean, I think Jack and the guy, he knows what's going on.
Well, I guess my question based off of this is, has Arya made the right choices up to this point for where she's at? Do you feel that this moment, this was her reflection sort of, I am going to let go of my family name, I'm going to let go and be no one?
Well, I guess that's just it, is like, I don't think she actually let go of her family name. I think she is making all the right steps in terms of her own plan. But I don't.
But her motivation isn't completely
Yes, the
pure.
external factors are something she can't control, so she really wants to commit to this.
For sure. I mean, having the last name Stark, I mean, I think it's a smart move to remove her identity. You know, because it's only going to get her killed, really.
Although I do find it interesting because this is the first time since season 1 that we finally see Arya in a place where she's not running and hiding. She doesn't have to protect herself anymore. She's in a place where she can actually stop and start learning again, as opposed to just trying to stay alive.
She's just got that crazy chick whacking her with a cane.
Well, I have to ask you guys, what did you think of that line? Because there was a line that stuck out to me in this one, which was Arya asking the other girl, who was blind or not blind. I'm
pretty sure she's blind.
Because she was kind of locking eyes at points, but other times she was totally not. But anyways, she asks her, what do we do after we wash them?
Yeah.
And the girl just sort of like looks at her and then just I was like, what do they do with them after they wash them?
There's some weird stuff going on there.
That was a point where I was like, why don't people just communicate?
Yeah.
Why do we have to figure this out on our own?
I feel like this is going to drag on for a while. This House of Black and White is just going to be a curious setting for a good couple of seasons. It's very curious.
A couple episodes. Oh, I'm glad you used that word too, because right at the beginning, Jaqen H'ghar is talking to a guy, and he hands him this drink. Are we led to believe that drinking the water is what killed the guy, I guess?
What's what you
But wait,
think,
do you
right?
actually think he's dead?
body they were washing?
I don't think that guy's dead.
You don't think that guy's dead?
No, I think he's in some sort of like trance. Otherwise, they would get rid of them. That was sort of what I thought.
Well, what do they do with the bodies?
What do they do with the
bodies?
It is a very, very curious conundrum that I'm very curious. Yeah, can't wait till next time. You guys get us #WIC your question comments, because I don't know that we have any answers for Arya's story this
we covered
week.
Nothing on that one.
Yeah, we really covered nothing, but I mean, but it's exciting.
Yeah,
yes,
let's do it.
It's just great to have so many questions.
Yeah,
I feel like this is a story that's going to have a lot of payoff at the end.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we definitely want to hear from you guys. Moving onwards a little bit of self-reflection. Every week I've sort of done these, note to self, kind of what has Game of Thrones taught us this week. And I feel like Game of Thrones is teaching us a lot about women and a lot about whores, apparently. Because specifically,
when you really look for it, like you do every week.
When I look for it, I'm
you
examining
look for the
now.
message in
I'm
the
examining.
brothels.
But my message this week is a lot of stuff happens in whorehouses.
Yeah.
So you should just go to whorehouses, because we get the High Septon in the whorehouse.
That was an interesting scene.
Well, and we're going to get to that scene, but more specifically, the scene I want to talk about is Tyrion in the whorehouse with Jorah there, Varys, this whole craziness.
Yeah, we haven't seen Jorah in a little bit.
Can I ask a question before we get into it? Okay, so he's just found this prostitute that he's like, yep, you're the one, I'm going to go for it, and then he can't. Is that because of Shay?
Yes.
Or it is?
Absolutely because of Shay. He was like, I can't fall in love with another prostitute. I can't fall in love with another whore.
Scared of falling in love?
I think so. I think Tyrion's a man who falls in love every time. I think.
What's he gonna do with his spare time?
Yeah.
What is he gonna do with his spare time?
That's such a great time.
He's like, believe me, there is no one more shocked than I.
Yeah. I hope it passes. What will I do with my spare time? Which was a great line, by the way. But yeah, I think that Tyrion's a guy who falls in love with all of them.
Yeah.
Like and I'd say it's probably different levels for him.
She did. You know what? She did look like Shay as well.
She did. Oh, that was definitely on purpose. That was a very clever casting choice done by the show.
Clearly,
definitely.
And of course the blonde girl, and he's like, no, I'm not interested. I'd go for the brunette, of course.
It's funny that he was like, interesting hair choice with her.
Yes, and I would say another interesting thing to me in this particular journey, before we get to the obvious big thing with Jorah showing up, is the Red Priestess. So is this the first time we've seen another Red Priest outside of Thoros and Melisandre?
I believe so.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now, and it's definitely the first time we've seen one all the way over in Essos.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a big deal.
Very interesting to see that religious faction is spreading as far as it is.
Yeah, and here's what's very interesting is Melisandre makes this claim that she sees it in the flames and that Stannis is the one true king. But then there's this red priest across the sea who's saying, well, Daenerys is here to save us, and she's going to be the savior and free all the people. So are all the red priests and priestesses not seeing the same thing in the flames? Are they liars?
I also like that she brought up the grayscale comment, because that's what we see on Stannis' daughter. And, obviously that has something to do with this society that she is currently in.
That's such a great point, Allison, because that point leads to so many bigger things that I want to talk about in this episode, and that's the fact that so many connections are starting to be made, so many players are starting to come together. Specifically, Jorah taking Tyrion, and he says, I'm going to take you to the Queen. I don't think we're fooling anybody that he's going to take her to Cersei. He's going to take her to Daenerys.
Going to Daenerys.
And can I say something? If anyone is not following where we're going on the map, we can always look at Alison's dress, who has the Game of Thrones map.
I have the entire map of Westeros on my dress.
We should probably point it out.
So if anyone needs to know where we are.
You guys should stay in your chairs.
We can point to it out. Just pointing that out.
Yeah, we'll help you guys. We'll point it out.
I couldn't not let that go without being seen that Alicent is wearing the map on her dress.
I will say there is a place on the map apparently called Cornfield. Just Cornfield.
Good.
I wonder what happens in Cornfield.
Good job. Carry on, guys.
Yes.
Yes. So jumping back into things, Jorah says he's taking him to the Queen.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to be
Daenerys. Yeah. It's going to be his way to win back her favor.
But
she's going to be like,
Tyrion, they're going to take it his gag, and he's going to be like, idiot, I was going to see her anyway. This is where I am here. And then she'll be like, Jorah, you
and then he's going to make a comment about how he was planning on getting there much more drunk. And unfortunately, Jorah got him there sober.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys just wrote the next episode.
Yeah,
I think
you're welcome, writers.
You just wrote the next episode.
But I mean, he's going to kind of look stupid. Like, as soon as he's able to talk and say, yeah, me and Varys were on our way to see you. Thanks, idiot, for like tying me up and taking to where I was already going.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a great point.
It might get him in more trouble.
Might get him in more trouble.
Yep.
So, Queen, we're talking about a lot of queens.
Yep.
And specifically, though, there is no longer, what's funny about our comments about taking him to Queen Cersei is Cersei's not the queen anymore.
Yeah.
No, the Queen Mother.
Yeah, Marjorie is the queen.
Marjorie, man.
And how about that scene with Tommen and Marjorie where
I got a little uncomfortable.
they have a wedding night together and he's all of like 9, 10, 11, something like that?
I think he might be a tad bit older. I think he's like
I think the
14
actor,
and
I think the
15.
actor's older, but I think the character
Really?
of Tommen's supposed to be really young.
Okay, when I first realized what was happening in that scene, I was like, shield your eyes, Allison. Like, you can, I will watch all sorts of prostitutes walk around naked, but as soon as I'm seeing this, like, child become a man, I'm like, oh, gosh. But I have to give that actor credit because I don't think Tommen has said more than 2 or 3 sentences at any given time through this whole
He had a big
series.
episode.
And then this was such an amazing scene for him. He was so good, and you got to see, you really got to see Tommen's personality and who he was and who he hopefully is going to grow up to be, which actually seems like a very kind person.
Well, he does seem like a kind person. No Sir Pounce, though, by the way.
No, where's the cat?
I think they cast it really well. Like, he does look like a really heartfelt sort of guy, you know, really sincere and nice dude.
Well, what did you think of the scene, Xavier, with Tommen and then Cersei after that scene?
I mean, for me, that was just like 100% showing Marjorie digging her claws into this manipulation with Tommen. Like, and even the fact that they showed the bedroom scene where Marjorie was like, oh, you know, you're never gonna be a man if your mum's around.
Right.
And then the next scene is straight to him and Cersei and him just like subtle points or, you know, subtly hinting that she should leave. And
then right after that, Cersei going to Marjorie.
Yeah.
And I feel like for the first time, we're actually seeing Cersei being concerned
Yeah,
about.
she's like, oh shit. I feel like they really they didn't mess around. They were like, okay, like Marjorie is digging her claws and she's manipulating Tommen. You know, I mean, who knows what her really what her motivation is, and you can see it's effective. Like she is not controlling him, but she is affecting
she's definitely manipulating
his actions.
him.
Well, time out here. Let's ask the most important question. Who is winning, Cersei or Marjorie? Who is winning currently?
Man, at this point, I go Marjorie. I think she's kind of getting everything she wants, and Cersei's like watching it all slip through her fingers at this point.
And Marjorie's getting sassy too. Like, I mean, I'll let you guys into it, but she's like dropping bombs like in front of her friends, like being rude, like outright rude to Cersei, you know. And it's like she's definitely got the upper hand now, you know.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I felt anyway.
But what's so fascinating to me is that we watch Cersei do everything, and you see her as being like evil and like. We kind of hate everything Cersei does, even though it has great motivation behind it. And we watch Marjorie do it, and we like root Marjorie on. Like there's something about Marjorie you just like, even though she is just as manipulative, if not more, than Cersei.
Do you guys think that when Cersei came in to talk to Marjorie, that it was like her usual intimidation?
That was the thing I wanted to ask. That's one thing I wanted to ask you guys is that Cersei literally says, "If there's ever anything I can do for you," and on Marjorie's last barb. At her, you know, when she says that
the final. Do I call you Queen Mother or?
And Cersei's response is, "If there's ever anything I can do," and I was like,
To me,
no, is that scary or? Is
I think Cersei was like, "Shut up."
And let's not forget, she also just outright called her an alcoholic in front of everyone else.
I know
as well.
that was genius.
Yeah, she's deliberately demeaning the queen, like demeaning her right in front of everyone, you know. And so what I'm confused about? Did Cersei go in there going, "I'm going to take this bitch down a notch," you know, and then just get completely backfired on her? What do we think?
Well,
happened?
I think that there's a lot of questions without answers. And again, that's for you guys to let us know your thoughts. You can hit us up at our Twitter handles or at WickNet's handle and use the hashtag WIC to let us know your thoughts, concerns, feelings about that. But a final sort of parting thought, and it's difficult to give it a parting thought because the episode's title is High Sparrow. But there then is this whole more, and these episodes are so dense, but then there's this other part where Cersei goes to see this High Sparrow.
Oh, you mean parting thought of Cersei?
What's that?
I was like, you mean parting thought of Cersei?
Yeah.
When you're like a final parting thought, I was we have so much more to talk about.
There's so much more. Yes. But the final parting thought to Cersei, because we have to. There's so much to talk about. But specific to that is then we go see this High Sparrow. Who's he? What's her plan there? Does anybody have any thoughts on this?
I so saw her going, okay, this is another faction of the city that is gaining power. Let me get them on my side. So she gets rid of the High Septon, who was obviously losing power and was becoming a laughingstock. And she immediately goes and meets, you know, the quote-unquote High Sparrow, even though he doesn't call himself that. Yeah. And then she's like, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. We got to look out for each other. Because I think that was, she saw herself losing footing with her own people inside the castle. But she's like, if I can get the religious people on my side, I have power again.
Yeah, right. I concur. I agree. I think that's a good observation.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
What do you say, Sir Adam?
You know, it's difficult, but I think that I agree with what you guys are saying, which is that Cersei...
I hate to agree with you.
Yes.
No. I mean, it's a difficult question to answer, but I think the idea here that Cersei needs any power she can get because she isn't the queen anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's face facts, she isn't the queen. So how does she get power? How does she hold on to it? She's going to start looking at avenues and different ways that she hasn't looked at before. And I'm sorry for kind of zoning out there for a second because I was just thinking, what the heck is under that blanket? What is under the blanket?
Oh, with
Qyburn.
Qyburn. Yeah.
I think my theory is that it's the mountain is under there, that he's kept him alive. I mean that's
right, because he was stabbed with the poison.
It was a giant underneath it. It was a big, whatever it was big, and we never really saw the mountain die. We just saw him. He was infected and unconscious, right?
Well, you had a thought though, where you said it could be the High Septon.
I was like, maybe instead, you know, Cersei was like, we put the High Septon.
That's quick moving, though. I mean,
yeah,
like,
that's
like really fast.
That's real quick moving, but we know that Qyburn's always like, oh, there's a midget head. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Got some rats I want to just cut into.
I like the idea of it being the mountain.
Yeah, I like your idea too. So
yeah,
you know.
Well, we want to hear you guys' thoughts, but specifically, I want to talk about the line. There is a line in the episode that is said, "Bring me my sword." And it's Jon Snow saying, yeah, that was a really cool, and I kind of like, there was this really interesting shot choice that they had too, where they sort of left Jon Snow there, and then they did this like kind of really weird cut where they left it like on the wall, and you just see a shadow standing up.
Oh yeah, you see him put the drink down.
Well, it was interesting to me because I was like, is that shadow maybe a little reminiscent of Ned Stark a little bit? Because that scene...
That's some deep thinking right there.
That's some deep thinking, but that scene specifically has always been, you know, Ned told his kids, if you're going to take a man's life, you
have to take it yourself.
Yeah, you take it yourself.
Yep.
I loved it, and I thought that scene was awesome. I thought it just brought so much respect to Jon Snow, even though he just cut someone's head off. He tell me the name of the person he awarded the first Ranger.
Alistair Thorne.
Alistair Thorne. He could have made him the what was it?
Yeah,
the sort of the head commander of the latrine, like digging a toilet to for the guys to go to the bathroom in. But he didn't. He rose above it, and he could have very easily. And you could see it in his face. He's like, "Oh my God, I'm about to become in charge of a toilet." But he goes, "No." He goes, "You deserve it. You could be the first Ranger." And obviously, he gained his respect. And then when he stood up for himself and goes, you know what, like, are you going to go against me? Well, this is what happens. And he went ahead and did it. He showed no mercy. He cut his head off. Like, it just made you think, damn, like, you know,
I was actually shocked that he didn't show mercy, because I do feel like, what's his...
He stayed his hand, too, a little bit, when he said mercy.
Yes.
When he called for mercy.
Yeah, and I was sitting there watching it going, I'd be okay. I would be okay if he did not behead this man.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this guy genuinely...
is just he's a weakling.
Yes, exactly.
He's truly a non-combatant.
There was a pause there. What do you think Jon Snow was like? Yeah, well, I'm not going to award weakness.
Well, he paused there, and then as soon as he said, "I'm afraid," you actually saw Jon's face like harden, and he.
I almost expected him to say a line like, being afraid.
Terminator style, like, now you will be afraid.
No, like, being afraid is why we can't use you here, or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, like, we cannot have men who are afraid here.
Left it to the imagination. But I feel like Jon Snow needed to do that because he's already been questioned for being, like, you know, weak and to a lot, like having too much feelings for like the wildlings and that sort of thing. I feel like this really reinstated his authority. You know, he really showed.
There was another part before this scene happened. There's again a lot with Jon Snow, but. The scene prior to this was Davos, because obviously Stannis came in there, but then Davos basically sits down and he says, "Hey man, you know, obviously you're part of the Night's Watch, and it's your job to protect the realms of men. Do you think you can do that just sitting on the wall, or maybe you could do the best amount of good by helping the most amount of people by becoming Jon Stark?
Yeah.
Yes, and actually going back to
And that won't make you break your vows,
Right.
because you'll still be protecting the realms of men.
Sure.
I love
Very
how smart
interesting.
Davos is.
Davos is super
Yeah.
smart.
Good
Just
dude,
like
too.
just sprinkled that on and then left. He's like,
Yeah.
I'll let you
Yeah, it's like,
marinate on
I'm
that.
not a learned man.
Yeah.
But you
I'm not a
know.
learned
But
man.
I'm the
Yeah.
smartest
Yeah,
guy
we can
here.
tell, bro, because you just said learned.
Yeah. And in particular to that scene is that Stannis says, again, as you guys pointed out to me, Stannis says, I'm going to march on Winterfell. And the most interesting aspect of that is, what the heck? Sansa going Winterfell, Ramsay, I can't even speak words.
Oh, I know.
What is that? What is going on?
When Bolton was like, it's time for you to marry, I've got the perfect girl for you, I was like, no!
She actually did that. It was a longer, no!
Yeah.
We didn't hear anything
Oh,
else that
man.
happened in the rest of the
Yeah,
episode.
so if you guys could just tell us what happened.
What happened in
'cause
that scene?
We don't know.
I mean, what great foreshadowing by Brienne in last week's episode when she was like, do you really think Sansa is safe with Littlefinger?
Yeah.
And the very next episode, he's basically like married her off to the son of the man who killed her brother.
For personal gain, of course.
Right,
Yes.
yeah, and it's for personal gain.
Sure.
Very interesting point there. With that in mind, do you think that Littlefinger fully understands the extent to which he's put her in danger, to which he has put Sansa in danger?
Yes, and I don't think he cares. I think he's got this whole plan that
Yeah.
Sansa's just a pawn in.
Yeah. I think it was good to sort of finally get some insight into what Littlefinger's doing.
Yes, because I also did not understand his explanation to Sansa when he gives her this whole speech outside of
Kaelin.
Kaelin. And at the end, he's like, "You do this to avenge your family," and I was like, "What?
Yeah,
How?"
that doesn't-
So what does this mean?
How?
He's
But
like
he's such a
planting
good
her on
talker.
what he's going to he wants Sansa to kill Ramsay in his sleep? What does he want
he-
what does he
But-
want to do?
and that's interesting. Do you think that Sansa would have been capable of even going in front of Bolton and bowing and like saying, "Oh"?
Well, we know after like what she's done in the past, like we know she can act now. You know, she can say
Yeah.
what she has to say. But like, I mean, like maybe I'm just a little slow. But like, when he won her over, like, and Littlefinger did a great speech, you know, and he coerced her to go ahead and do what he wants her to do. But is her motivation to go in and kill Ramsay Snow or kill Bolton?
I don't know if that's her motivation or if it was more a speech to be like, go back to Winterfell and rule your people again, to like bring your family name back, just deal with Bolton.
It's
like that's the way you get there, basically.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I really am truly at a loss for words, because watching that scene to me was just like jaw open, like because we have seen what Ramsay can do, and we've seen what Roose can do, but specifically Ramsay is terrifying. He has created Reek from Theon, who we have seen creeping around there.
My favorite part of that entire scene was seeing Theon again.
Well, we saw Theon. We saw Ramsay's sort of love interest,
She
weird,
looked
creepy
dangerous.
girl.
I reckon
that-
we're gonna see more of her. Like
Oh
she like
my
a
gosh.
scorned like ex
Oh,
or
yeah.
whatever she'll be.
Yeah, so what is going to happen to Sansa? We truly want to know you guys' thoughts. And again, I want to sort of get into this episode and get into these episodes, because all three of these episodes to me have spoken to a sort of a growing sense of people coming together, things happening, pieces on the chessboard moving, finally starting to, because now you've got Pod and Brienne headed towards Winterfell, you've got the Boltons in Winterfell, you've got Littlefinger in Winterfell, you know Stannis wants to march on Winterfell, all those pieces are going, Jorah, Tyrion are going over to, and Varys are going over to Marine. You've got Jamie going down a. I mean, like
Jon Snow, who's probably might be heading up to Winterfell as well.
Yes.
So
there's just so much, and I find it so interesting, and we know you guys
Arya
do too.
by herself in her weird little, becoming the faceless man.
Ninja training.
Let's get it
yes,
right.
Ninja
Ninja
training.
training.
I thought you were about to say Ninja Turtle.
No.
I was like,
She's now a ninja.
Ninja
turtle.
training.
But with that in mind, because I've sort of been building towards it, let's get some fan questions out there. And we have one. It's sort of a comment question because there's a lot of craziness going on. So let's just get it going here. The first one we've got is from Twitter, @KingPuddin.
King Puddin.
So what the hell was Sansa and Littlefinger? I refuse to believe Baelish knew nothing about Ramsay. Don't like that one bit. I think we've pretty much hit that one on the head, but what do you guys sort of think in terms of, do you think that Do you think Ramsey is playing Littlefinger or Littlefinger's playing Ramsey? Because there was that scene where
Between the two
Ramsey,
of them?
where he's like, oh, and he tells Roose like, oh, your son seems really like he's going to be a great fit. And Ramsey's like, I'll never hurt her. And
Yeah, so obviously
Yeah.
Ramsey is a monster, so we know that's not true.
Well, you know, it's interesting when Ramsey was like, I'll never hurt her. I feel like the way he was looking at Sansa was almost like she was going to be this perfect little pet to him, if that makes sense. So, like, he wouldn't want it tarnished or hurt or broken in any way. Not that that's ever a good thing, though.
I don't know that I can handle scenes between Ramsey and Sansa alone, because I don't want to know what that is. With
And I mean, and Ramsey's like, he's a freak too. Like, I mean, remember when he came down to the dungeons when Theon's sister was trying to break him out, and he'd just been like sleeping with his girl, and he was just covered in scratches and blood.
Yeah.
Like, so he's a crazy fella in the
Yes.
sack, right?
I'm sure he's crazy in a lot of ways. Speaking of Ramsey, another sort of question that was actually asked by Wicknet, by winteriscoming.net, which is found on Twitter, says, oh God, Sansa's going to marry Ramsay Bolton. Better or worse than Joffrey?
Oh, man, this poor girl. All she wanted was to live a fairy tale life and marry a prince, and now she's been betrothed to two. Oh, and she was married to Tyrion.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but
She's like,
Tyrion's
God
probably
damn.
the best.
Tyrion's
out of
the best
three of
one.
them.
No, I don't think you can put a probably on that. I would say
Yeah,
absolutely
yes.
the
Yeah.
best. I'd marry Tyrion if
Man,
my choices were
Who's
Joffrey or
worse?
Ramsay.
Who's
Here's the
worse,
thing.
Joffrey or Ramsey? Carry on.
Well, I think Ramsay is probably worse than Joffrey, but I think because she had to deal with Joffrey, she's going to be able to handle Ramsay.
That's a really cool point. Xavier, your thought.
Man, I agree with that. I hope it doesn't happen. I actually feel for her at this point, man. Like, it's a
I know.
rough
I
trot.
feel like we're going to riot if Sansa's made to marry the bastard
Well,
of.
I mean, if he does anything
Yeah.
crazy to her.
It's a very interesting question. We wish we actually had more insight on this, but it's
We're just speculating.
it's that kind of subject
I
to
think
us.
I just see Sansa fighting back at this one.
Yeah?
Yeah, I kind of do.
Or even killing him. Who knows?
Yeah.
That'd be
possibly.
wild.
I feel like she's been pushed to that point.
Yep. One last moment here from the fans. And again, guys, all of your questions use the hashtag WIC. We will see them. We will get back to you. And hopefully we'll read them on the air for you. This one is from @WriterAB. Is it just me, or did Cersei look legitimately concerned during her meeting with Marjorie? Thinking of that episode 1 flashback. I find that really, really cool, because I believe, Xavier, you said something earlier about the fact that when Cersei was meeting with Marjorie, there was this, I think it was yourself, it was one of us, who said that about sort of Cersei clearly being brought to being distraught by this situation with Marjorie. And I think it's very interesting looking back at 2 episodes, at episode 1 and this flashback.
What flashback are we talking about here?
When they were the young girls and they
When
went
they
to
were
go
the
visit
young
the
girls.
witch.
Sorry, got you.
She sees the witch, and there's this prophecy.
Yeah.
And summing it up much more quickly than that is the flashback in episode 1. Did that make you think of the flashback in episode 1 with the prophecy with Marjorie and Cersei?
I mean, I wasn't thinking about that. I wish I was, but I wasn't. Yeah, as I said, I thought, like, I mean, as I said, I stick to basically what I said before is, like, I feel like Cersei was just, like, Marjorie came out swinging the second she walked into the room, you know, and she just was taking her down a notch. I feel like Marjorie's really got the upper hand from my perspective.
I honestly didn't think of the flashback either, but I do think it's very clever to think of the flashback.
Yeah.
To me, it was just Cersei at this moment realizing she was losing all of her footing.
Yeah.
Well, since I'm so clever, I did think of the flashback.
Oh.
So there.
You're a deep guy, though, you know?
Well, what did
know,
you think?
I'm a deep thinker. I made the connection.
Yeah.
When I was watching it, I was thinking of it right sort of in that moment. I was like, oh, there was the flashback about the prophecy that she's going to lose her kids, and this is exactly what Cersei must be
She's
thinking.
watching it happen.
And that was in the scene where she said to her, if there's ever anything I can do for you, because I just saw it in Cersei where I was like, she does seem legitimately concerned to me. So
Yeah.
fan answer, does seem legitimately concerned.
Yeah, agree with it.
Final thoughts of this episode. We're going to do our quick rapid fire
Ooh, okay.
questions here. And the first one that comes to mind is most shocking or surprising moment from this week's episode. Allison?
I think when we cut to Tommen and Marjorie on their wedding night, I was just not expecting that at all. Like when you heard the noises, I was like, oh, it's not gonna be them. It's not gonna be them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's them.
Xavier?
I'm gonna go with Jon Snow cutting the head off. Just it was unexpected and a real character change for him, I think. New direction for him.
Mine absolutely has to be Sansa marrying Ramsay. I was jaw on the floor. I was legitimately shocked. My friend and I spoke about this a couple weeks ago when we talked about the fact that Littlefinger was taking Sansa somewhere where Cersei could never get her, and we threw out some ideas. We're like, well, Winterfell's west, and we both just went past Winterfell. We're like, yeah, Winterfell's west, Moat-Cailin, whatever. Like we didn't even consider it. Yeah. Didn't even consider it. So absolutely shocked. That was by far my most surprising moment of this week's episode.
Cool.
Next, I want to bring up for you two to consider.
Yes.
Your favorite line of the episode.
Oh. No.
Easy.
Winter is coming. Jon Snow actually said winter is coming. It's been a long time since we've heard that line without it being like so in your face, like winter is coming. He's like, we need to know if your people are staying or going because winter's coming.
Yeah, we can't feed you, bro.
Yeah.
and Sanders was like, oh yeah, you're right. Yep.
Yep.
You go.
Oh, you want me to go?
Yeah.
The two kind of humorous lines to me, and I'm having trouble picking which one's my favorite, but Tommen saying, I want to do this all day, every day, for the rest of my life.
Don't we all, Tommen?
Yeah, don't we all, Tommen? And then, of course, kind of the rebuttal to that, or the opposite of that, I should say, is Tyrion saying, I hope it passes. What will I do with all my spare time?
Yeah.
He's just like, good God.
I thought both of those lines were pretty fantastic.
Those are good mirrors of each other.
Mine would probably be from Marjorie, just completely taking Cersei down a peg and being like, oh, geez, I wish we had some wine for you, but we don't start drinking that early in the day.
That was a great one, too. This episode had a lot of good ones.
Yeah, she's good. It's like, hey, you're an alcoholic. Take that.
Yeah, and that was a very good one. I liked that one as well. That one brought me, I think I even said boom at that one.
Yes.
When I was like,
oh,
damn.
So, now, last but not least, the thing to talk about here is farewell to Janos Slynt. Bye, Janice. I don't know that any of us will miss you. I don't know that any of us have anything good to say about you. You were a horrible, horrible man who did horrible things, and you were sent to, the wall, and then you did horrible things up there too. So I don't really know what kind of good we could say about you. Anybody have your favorite worst moment of Janos Slynt?
Hiding with Gilly.
But even how the first Ranger. Big guy, just
Alistair,
he was like, you know what? Yeah, get him. Like, just stood aside and let him get it. He's like, I don't respect you. Cut his head off.
I mean, I pity the guy.
Yeah.
You know, I don't hate Janos, but I pity him for sure.
See, I kind of hate Janos because, well, he was just one of the many that deceived Ned Stark, and that. I think that's still the biggest crushing thing from.
That's going way back.
That was in season 1,
you're right.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where I don't think I can forget that. The North remembers, darn it. I got a beard. I'm clearly from the North.
By the way, I was totally thinking of like what our cities would be, and you're absolutely Winterfell. I am a wildling, and you're totally a Lannister.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm a Lannister.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. I'll take it.
There you go. That's our mix.
Yeah, that's our mix. We want to thank you all once again for being a part of our journey through Game of Thrones. On behalf of myself, on behalf of Allison, and of course Xavier, we want to thank you so much for watching. And of course, every single week, use the hashtag WIC. Get in your thoughts, questions, comments, concerns. Everything Game of Thrones related. We will answer you throughout the week. We'll answer you during the episodes. We'll answer you, anytime. We don't sleep, really. I mean, at least I don't. And, of course, a big thank you to Fansided and winteriscoming.net, which is the place you can go for all of your Game of Thrones news, resources, rumors, topics, all the crazy stuff. And a big thank you to Entertainment Weekly and the stream.tv. This would not be possible without either of them. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much.
Winter is coming.
Bye. See ya. What am I going to do with all my spare time?